Good morning. Happy Tea Time Tuesday. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Legacy Builders. Let me know if you can hear me. All right. Good morning. Hello. Good morning, Dr. Roxanne. Great to see you. Come on in. I see you joining me. Good morning on Instagram. Good morning, Facebook. Good morning, YouTube. And good morning, LinkedIn. We're a little here and there and everywhere today. Good morning, Walida, Mark, Nancy. Good morning, Legacy Builders. Come on in. Let me know what you're drinking your tea, coffee, water, whatever your beverage of choice is. Great to have you here. Just let me know. I'm going to go ahead and get my sip. All right. I hear you. Thank you. Good morning, Diamond. Great to see you. Okay. Thank you, Nancy. Hey there, Deborah. Great to have you on. Good morning, Stacy. Oh, a lot of waters today. All right. I'm gonna take a sip of water to join y'all too. So I always have my water with my tea. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Marcella Mullen Williams. I am a licensed behavioral financial advisor and the co founder of Legacy Builder Group, a family owned holistic and coaching firm and investment firm where we help families create financial certainty and build impactful, multi generational legacy wealth. All right. And today we are talking about money, managing finances, and friendships. That's what we're talking about today. Come on in. I see the waters and the teas happening this morning. Great, great, great. And let me make sure I'm checking YouTube as well. All right. So, yes, we're having a conversation about money as it relates to finances and friendships. And here's why we're having this conversation today. Because in the last week, I have had this conversation centering around friends and relationships 3 times, 3 situations, 3 scenarios. Um, and after the second time, I knew that this was going to make a good Tea Time Tuesday because I realized it is an issue that we have in the slightest ways and in really impactful ways. And I I just well, first, before I go further, I want to know, and we'll get into it, but I want to know, let me know if you've ever had a contentious or uncomfortable situation with a friend that related to money and finances in some way. Let me know in the chats. I want to know if you've ever had any type of situation. It could be just a little slight little, disagreement or something that maybe caused the demise of a relationship. So let me know if you've experienced this in any way. Okay, I'm seeing some yes, some people have. Yeah. And here's the thing. Yep, Stacy Wally, thank you for sharing. Francesca, thank you. I appreciate y'all sharing. Yeah, I mean this happens. Yeah, Diamond, this is a real thing. And here's the thing with these conversations that I had this week, each situation was different. It was unique as it related to, the scenarios that these individuals were dealing with. And they were sharing this with me, their situations. But at the end, each one related to finances and friendships. And it still boiled down to managing these two areas in some capacity. And it varied. And that's why I'm just going to take a piece of each one of these and just highlight certain challenges that if you have not dealt with yet, you probably will. But more than likely, you have already experienced this. But as you're elevating, as you're growing as a legacy builder and your income is growing, you really need to be aware of this even more so because it may continue to impact you, but there's ways around it. I mean, friendships can just be complicated, period. That's just the way it is, especially as your finances grow, especially as you grow in your financial success. You can't avoid that. But there's a number of scenarios that you can be confronted with at any given time as you're going through this growth. And whether it's dealing with expectations of others or even feeling guilty about outgrowing certain financial behaviors. Money can sometimes become a roadblock in even the closest relationships, but that doesn't have to be that way. It really doesn't. So let's talk about some of the unique challenges that you might have to face or that you have already faced, and how to maintain healthy boundaries in relationships and your friendships while protecting your financial well-being. And let's just look at, let me see. Oh, I'm looking at the chats. I lent some money, and here's the thing, most people pay back. Okay, I'm glad to see that, Nancy. I'm really glad to see that. Um, okay, I'm seeing some interesting feedback on the chat. All right, so let's talk about this. And let's start with dealing with unequal financial expectations. Yes, unequal financial expectation. Um, if you feel obligated to share your wealth, to share your money, especially if your friends are struggling financially, that can turn into an issue for you. Yes, it can. So tell me, do you feel the pressure to loan money or support friends? Maybe friends who are in less favorable financial situations? Has that been a challenge for you? And as I'm looking at the chats here, yes, I see you, Nancy. I hear you in the community, in the Facebook community. I love it. Yeah. Do you ever feel that pressure? If that's you, there needs to be clear boundaries placed as soon as possible. And here's the thing, many of you know, we talk about values and knowing your values and how important that is when it comes to your finances. The two are connected. If you want to make more responsible, smart, value based decisions around money, then you need to know your values. And oftentimes, when I'm doing a values assessment with my clients, I'm going through the values exercise and helping them determine their 5 core values. I'll look at those 5 core values, and I'll see maybe family, relationships, friendships on as one of their core values. And then they'll also note that maybe stability, wealth, security is also one of their values. I always have this conversation with them. Let them know that any given time, those two can go head to head and there can be a conflict. And you have to be really clear on the decision you're making, that one is not being selected at by lowering the value of the other one. So, for instance, when you have relationships or friendships or family as one of your core values, you have to set healthy boundaries. If not, then you will jeopardize your wealth, your security, your stability value, and you will feel the impact of that in your life. So it's very important that you set clear boundaries. You need to get comfortable with it, setting and communicating those financial boundaries. If friends expect you to pay the bill, offer to split it. And again, this happens especially when you are the friend that makes more money than your other friend. If you're in a friend circle and you make the most money, there can be expectations to handle things. So say, hey, offer to split it. Explain, this is the communication, explain that you're focused on other financial goals at this time. Be clear on that. Don't wait until you feel resentment. Address it from the start. Let them know where you stand. Be transparent. Also, learning to say no is so important. And I know saying no can be so hard. Trust me, I relate. I understand. It's hard for me to say no to someone I really care about. I get it. But protecting your financial future is vital. You know that. I know that. And that means being okay with saying no to lending money or covering costs for your friends or for every request, for every vacation, or for every activity that does not meet your financial objectives. Yeah, a real friend will respect your decision, period. We need to be clear, not feel release the obligation, release the expectations. All right. So that's the first part. And I'm just going to note three situations here. So set clear. The first one is just the financial expectations, releasing that by setting clear boundaries and being okay with saying no. Two is another issue, and I'm loving the chat. Thank you, the community. Oh yes, y'all are feeling this conversation. I see it. Absolutely. You may start feeling like an outsider. Yeah, this is a tough reality. You may start feeling like an outsider as you grow, as your financial situation changes, as your lifestyle choices change, you can start feeling isolated. You may find yourself like drawn to experiences or spending habits that your friends simply can't or always relate to. And that right there can create a sense of isolation, especially from relationships that have been a part of your life for years. You know, those childhood, those college, high school relationships when you started off, together and you're growing and your trajectory is different than that those individuals that you've known for so long. You feel that pull. And I'm telling you, for many people, I think we've seen this in so many different ways. We've seen it in celebrity lifestyles, where people feel the pull to keep those individuals, those day ones there with them. Yeah, that's a real struggle. It's important. It is important to maintain some old relationships, but it's also important to build new relationships. Build relationships with people who are in similar financial situations or have similar values when it comes to money. Yeah, keep some of those old relationships that are healthy, not all, that are healthy. Okay, let me emphasize that. But build new friendships and relationships with people who you can relate to, have again similar values about money. Just like your finances, you have to diversify your relationships. Remember that. Diversify your relationships. And this is so huge for me. Personally speaking, this is something that I am so intentional about. Keeping a diverse group of people around me who will relate to where I am and where I'm going while still being there for those who may not always get it, but they love me and they respect me and they still are healthy to be around. And this works for friends and families, really just all relationships. So it's important to do that. That way you'll have people around you who understand and support your journey. And that's what I love about this Legacy Builder Group community. I love it. That's the reason we have this community, why Mark and I built this community. I understand the importance. As you grow, we will continue to need one another, to support one another, to encourage one another in this place that everyone's simply not going to understand. that we're growing in. So that's what we have to do. I see you, Stacy. I'm running. I hear you. Yes. So absolutely building relationships. So and then so the final point of as you're growing and as we're working through relationships and when it comes to money and finances and friends, the third areas where we can really start moving into is guilt and shame. This may not be for everyone, but you may experience this at times. And again, especially as you grow, as you thrive, there's often guilt and shame around the perception of success. And I've seen it so many times. It's that, oh, you made it. Oh, you fancy now, right? Like we hear these terms. People say things. We've even had tea time. I'm trying to say a TED talk here, but a tea time about how people view people with money, the perception of rich, the perception of wealthy that you hear. So now if you associate it to yourself, of course you're going to feel a certain way because your friends have already expressed how they feel about rich people, how they feel about wealthy people. Now, if you're in that position, you're automatically perceiving that that's how they feel about you. And therefore, when this happens, you might downplay your achievements or feel like you're betraying your roots. This can strain friendships. If you're not able to fully celebrate your wins, who wants that? Who wants to have to downplay the growth in your life, your achievements? You want to have people who can celebrate your wins. And this is another reason why it's so important to diversify your friend group. But it's also important to keep in mind sometimes those old friends just don't understand the challenges that you face as a high income earner, as a high achiever, and as a purpose driven individual. Sometimes they just don't know. So it could benefit you to simply be open about your goals and to share your boundaries, be vocal. Remember I said communicate about your boundaries. Don't assume anything. This creates transparency, which is so important for relationships, for friendships to thrive. So be willing to communicate with them. It also reduces misunderstandings because remember, we're all making up stories in our heads. Unless we're articulating what we're thinking, what we're feeling, and sharing where we are in life, we're left to our thoughts. And we don't want that because that can lead to misunderstanding. So you don't need to justify your success, but sharing where you're coming from can build empathy in those relationships. And it can allow them to thrive in these areas. And so I want you to remember this as I wind down here. And I'm looking forward to going back and reading all these comments because they're so good. And I'm not, because of time, I can't read them all, but I am seeing some great comments here that are so beneficial. Y'all need to just be in the Facebook group and see how everyone is adding to this conversation because it's so good. Yes, Nancy. Thank you, Stacy. Thank you, Francesca. And Walida, yes. Charlene, I see you. Absolutely. So as I wind down, I just want to I want you to remember that your worth is not tied to your wallet. Okay. Your worth is not tied to your wallet. And yes, that seems like an obvious statement, but when you're in the midst of situations with people that you care about, it can be hard to remember that. True friends won't value you for what you provide them financially. Okay. It's easy to fall into the trap of feeling like you need to prove yourself, to prove your worth through generosity. And I know in this group we have some givers. Your hearts are so big, and being generous is a part of your nature. And it's a wonderful thing, but I always want you to check your intentions, because your intentions will always matter. Your intentions about why you're doing what you're doing is what you need to always check. What are your intentions about your generosity? Why are you really giving, doing the things you're doing with your money, spending the way you're spending when it comes to your friends? Is it an expectation? Is it an obligation? Or is it simply coming from your heart? Got to check that. Okay. So managing finances and friendships can be tricky. We've stated that, but it's not impossible. As long as you set clear boundaries, be honest about your financial journey, and learn to say no when needed. Surround yourself with friends who respect and value you for who you are, not for what you can give. And remember, money doesn't have to get in the way of meaningful connections. By managing your money with intention and maintaining healthy boundaries, you can preserve your friendships while staying on track with your financial goals. Okay? It can be done. It does take intentionality and it does take those boundaries. So I hope today's conversation, and by the looks of the chat, I hope it looks like it did, but I hope today's conversation gave you some helpful insights. I just brought this conversation, to your awareness, made you more mindful of your interactions, and moving forward, help you to help provide you with some means and some ways and some techniques that you can navigate through some of these challenging situations. And if you have any questions or experiences to share, as so many have shared in the chat, please continue to add it in the comments. Let's keep the conversation going. It doesn't have to end here, because we can all benefit from the all that the shares, because like I said, this is something we're going to have to deal with consistently, especially as you grow. So thank you everyone for joining me today for Tea Time Tuesday. Please join me again next week, and right back here as we continue to build and, well, actually, as you continue to develop the behavior that will build your legacy. Thank you again, everyone, for joining me. And reach out to me if you have any questions or want to schedule a consultation so you can have a conversation about money, friendships, and how you can navigate through this challenge if it is a huge challenge for you. Okay. So I'll see you next week for Tea Time Tuesday. Thank you, everyone.